Hey guys, Dr. Ray from Chiropractic Plus, and today we're going to be talking about something that is not an easy topic. It's very, very complicated and it's very specific to each individual woman, and that's menopause, all right? Now, the nightmare of menopause occurs when you're a teenager. Okay, that's when it all begins. Because when you're a young teenager, your body's secreting all the wonderful hormones like estradiol and testosterone, and everything is in perfect balance, progesterone, and everything's working out beautifully. Now, the body, the manufacturing plant inside the body is called the ovaries. They're manufacturing all these wonderful hormones. Now, your adrenal glands, on the other hand, are doing adrenaline type functions, working with adrenaline and cortisol and aldosterone, and doing that, not dealing a whole lot with these sex hormones. Now, when you're under habitual stress throughout your life, all right, that's where the problem of menopause begins, because menopause is a very natural process. Through the course of time, your ovaries are making these hormones to make you very fertile and so on. Then as time passes, the need for fertility decreases, and then what happens is seamlessly the adrenals start increasing the production of estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone while managing all those other types of adrenaline hormones. Now, the problem is that as long as the ovaries are working and you're pumping out the adrenals, you have no symptoms. Now, what happens, the adrenals are getting challenged, working so hard, and the ovaries start to shut down. The brain makes a phone call to the adrenals and says, oh my gosh, we need you to increase your production of these other hormones as well. And the adrenals just flip out and say, I don't have the capacity to do this. And things are a nightmare. So we have to repair. One of the biggest things we have to do with a estrogen, progesterone, testosterone imbalance of menopause, fix the adrenals and get their manufacturing plant online. All right, that's number one. So, but we'll talk about that as we progress through this little video. Now, the next part, we talk about just general hormones. Hormones are unique. The brain sends signal through the nervous system through a subluxation-free body and signals the certain body part, let's say ovaries in this case, to manufacture those sex hormones. Okay, they do their magical stuff, jump in, do all their magic, and then they have to be biotransformed and eliminated. Now, the biotransformation process occurs within the liver. So one of the challenges we have is we have the wrong kind of estrogen hanging out when you're going through menopause. There's three types, E1, E2, and E3. Now, E1 is around when you're pregnant, all right? So I don't think menopause and pregnancy have anything in common, so we don't even address the estrone, which is that type. Now, estradiol is the fertile female young person that does that. And then the estriol, which is the E3, that's the most common estrogen in a menopausal woman. All right. Now, the problem is that menopausal estrogen is very, very weak. So it doesn't have a whole lot of benefit. So the idea, though, we have to do is we have to convert and biotransform all hormones. So we have to make sure that the liver is working. Now, there's two parts to the liver process. You have what's called the first lobe, or cytochrome P450, and that's the Clearvite. This one helps to boost up your liver functions in the cruncher machine, as I call it, making fine particles, making poisons into super poisons. What happens next is those are passed into the second lobe of the liver, where they have 5 different factories. We call them the ACEs: methylation, glucuronidation, sulfation, and so on. That's what hepatosynergy does. It helps to neutralize those poisons, and then they can go out the poop chute and you eliminate them. Okay, it's really that simple. So we have to make sure your liver is optimized during this process to make sure we're biotransforming. Now, so next step, we've got to get these, temporarily we have to provide some substitution, if you will. Now, there's 2 types of outside world estrogens. Phytoestrogens, which are natural occurring in the environment, very good for you, like black cohosh and so on. And then there's another group that are called xenoestrogens. They look like estrogen, they smell like estrogen, but they don't act like estrogen. They don't have there's no engine in the machine. So what happens if we overconsume xenoestrogens, like found in plastics, very common, that can cause increase in xenoestrogen levels, which further push away any effective estrogens you might have. Again, that's liver biotransformation and so on. But what we have to do now is we have to substitute with this phytoestrogen. Now, what I'm going to recommend we use is something called, there it is right here, is something called here it is. Okay, women's hormone balance. Now, this has all the hormones to help elevate that E2, the estrogen. This is going to really help a lot with the hot flashes. Okay, now that's going to bring up that E2 level. Now, remember, the idea is we have to then convert these estrogens and biotransform and eliminate them into an inactive form. Now, that will happen because of something called Estrovite. This is going to help to biotransform those hormones out of the body because we don't want this stuff hanging around. Because remember, estradiol is the cancer-creating estrogen. That's the one we want to try and get eliminated. But we have to get it high temporarily, and then we have to biotransform and eliminate it. Now, that's what these two processes will do. Now, during this elevated E2 cycle, progesterone needs to be balanced out in a perfect 2-to-1 ratio. 2 parts estradiol to 1 part progesterone. All this is happening within the adrenals now that the ovaries have shut down. So we now need the progestate to help provide raw materials so the adrenals can take this and rebuild progesterone to balance out the estrogen that we're increasing. So one more time, just to review, is that women's hormone balance will help to provide raw, healthy or phytoestrogens in addition to raw material to build estrogen, and the progesterone will balance it out in the perfect 2-to-1 ratio. Now, these done their magical stuff. Now we need to biotransform them out so you're not keeping them around too long. Does that make sense? That's how you're going to change that up. Very good with hot flashes. Now, the other thing we're going to be doing right now is we're going to be supporting the adrenal glands, because remember, the adrenals are already exhausted, they're tired, and now we're trying to put them under more stress. Well, one thing we can use is something called adaptocrine. This is the chill pill. This will slow down the adrenaline response, the cortisol response, and help you relax to allow the adrenals to recover. Now, the adrenal energy will help to rebuild the adrenals. Again, raw materials for building all those healthy, wonderful adrenal hormones. And then the adrenal calm will help to provide a perimeter, which will allow the adrenals to build themselves back up so you don't have to worry about damaging them while you're rebuilding them. So that will help support the adrenals. Now, here's what happens. The body manufactures testosterone. Okay, also from the adrenal glands. When you're young fertile, it comes from the ovaries. Now, this has to do with libido, all right? Now, what happens is testosterone is created. It is then aromatized or transformed into an estrogen, biotransformed and eliminated, all right? This aromatization process, when that happens, it happens very efficiently. Testosterone plummets. Now, the challenge we have then is we've got to boost up those testosterone levels, and I'm going to recommend a cream called Testanex. This will help to raise up testosterone levels to balance out the estrogen and testosterone levels. Now remember, estrogen and testosterone compete, so we want to make sure we keep that in balance, so watch for your elimination of the hot flashes and increase in sex drive, and that'll basically determine that. Fair enough? All right, so guys, that's the small version of menopause. Very complicated process, and hopefully you can pick up a few supplements to help you through. If you have any questions, feel free to ask Dr. Nick. You can ask Dr. Andrew or myself, and many of the staff are very educated on that as well. So chat with all of them. Take care. Thanks for listening.